WGSN-DB Going Solo Network welcomes you to award-nominated relationship internet radio talk show, Going Solo with Cece. Host Cece Schatz is a speaker, author, blogger, and the leading transitional divorce and dating coach with My Friends Connect and Going Solo Next Step. Now, together, let's join Cece.
Well, hello, this is Cece with Going Solo, and I am so pleased to have with me today Christy Goldstein. And Christy Goldstein is a relationship expert and a dating expert. She really takes a really cool twist on things because so often as we move through life, things happen and we just can't foresee them. And sometimes we become disabled, health issues, things like that. And so when we're starting this quarter, this new journey in our life, when we're starting to date again and some of those things are coming up, it really can be to some a red flag, but to Christy, it's not a red flag. It's just something that we need to look at as being real. Things do happen in our lives. Our health is an issue. And so sometimes we just need to overcome some of those things. So Christy Goldstein, it's just a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's great to be here.
You are tackling this particular subject. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's come a long way. I didn't know what my first book should be of, and I should have known all along, but it took me a while to get here.
Yeah, that's the way life is sometimes. I think it is a journey, and so we'll start, and so often I hear this within the divorce support group. Start a relationship, we start something within our lives, and then it takes this curve and twist and turn, and that's what life is all about. So sometimes, where we started out, we don't really end up. And you know what? It's not the end. And so sometimes it's just a middle ground for us. So, life is cool. It really is cool if we choose to embrace it. And I love all that you are about because I think you are embracing life. You're embracing challenges in life. And you're touching and helping other people embrace themselves and be really more honorable to oneself, because having disability, so often it's like you're tainted and you don't look at life that way. And I think that's just a beautiful thing. So tell me at first, before we get into all of the helping issues that we're going to do to help the listeners out there, let's get into how you started and how did you start being a relationship and a dating expert and really embracing the subject of disability, dating, and such?
Well, about 6 years ago, I started writing a blog about my dating life, and the next thing I knew, I was getting asked from Your Tango and a lot of different other dating advice websites for me to write for them. And when I finally got settled into Your Tango, and I still contribute to other websites as well, like Digital Romance Inc. and Thought Catalog. So when I finally settled in at Your Tango about a year and a half later, I saw that everybody pretty much was a certified coach of some sort. And so I decided to go ahead and get certified just because with my illness that I personally have, I have gone back to school constantly trying to finish, and I literally have 3 semesters left, but it's not feasible for me to do it at certain times that I've tried to do it. So I figured that at least with the coaching training, I would be able to do that online instead of having to be in the classroom, which is easier for me. And so with the illness that I have, it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's actually a connective tissue disorder that affects our collagen, which collagen is everything in your body. It's skin, your bones, your joints, organs, your eyes, your tendons, your ligaments, your muscles, etc. And what EDS for short, instead of saying Ehlers-Danlos syndrome all the time, with EDS, we can actually dislocate all of the joints in our body. Well, most of us can, because there's 6 different types, and the type that I have, I can actually dislocate every joint in my body. So far I've had 56 surgeries correcting things that my body does naturally, which is to hyperextend. So I wanted to continue to write about my struggles with dating, because as soon as I would tell them that I have an illness, it would either go 2 ways. One, they would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you went through that," but still in the back of their mind, they're thinking, "Can I handle this?" And then 2, I would just never hear from them again. It would be a first or second or third date, and that would be the end of it. So I wanted to help people that are like me, whether it's a mental illness, a disability, or just a chronic illness, and help them along with the dating process, because it's been a lot of trial and error for me, and I know it's probably been trial and error for a lot of people. But I've learned a lot over the past 5 years of what to say and what to tell people and what not to tell people, how soon you should tell them, and just pretty much the trial and error of dating, which everybody has, regardless if you have an illness or not. So it's been a fun journey. It's been an interesting journey too, with dating, and having to tell people that, one, I'm going to write about it. I'm not going to tell them who your name is, and then two, hey, I have an illness. So it's been an interesting little time frame in my world.
I get that, because and I'll just share with the audience, and I'm sure they've listened to this before if they've been listening to me for a while. When I got divorced, my ex, that was one of the things he would always say, no one would ever want you, because I was struggling with some health issues at the time. I didn't know if it was just stress related, because he just put me under so much stress, or if it was something that as I'm getting older, I'm starting to have problems with. And so what I found out is, as I was moving through divorce, is yes, it was stress. A lot of it was stress related, and our body starts breaking down when we're under so much stress all the time. So it was probably, for me, a good thing to separate myself from such stress. And then the other is I did develop cancer, and I had a cervical cancer. I had surgery but I was lucky because I was at the onset of that. But at the beginning of it, I was starting to date, and then I had to tell the guy that I was dating, oh, wow, I have this, and I'm going to have to go in and have surgery. And at the time, we didn't know how serious it was. I just said, just remove it all, because I'm not having children anymore. So let's just get rid of it instead of waiting and watching and playing the roulette game. So we went in, had the surgery, and the doctor said to me, thank God we did it, because had we waited, it would have been further along, and it would have been a lot worse than what it was. So thank God I did have it done. It's worked out to be fabulous for me, because I didn't have to go through any of the menopausal things that a lot of women go through. I'm still a little psycho, but I think
you.
Yeah, really. I guess part of my personality, a little bit of psycho, part of being a woman, but I didn't have to go through any of those bad things. But I was at that stage where I didn't know where my life was going health-wise. And luckily, I had a great guy that I started to date. And I remember I was at the hospital. I didn't want my children to come and see me in a bad situation. I was trying to be all brave and everything. And then when it came time to pick me up, I was in the hospital for about a week. And then when it came time to pick me up, I had nobody to pick me up. And I had to call him. And he came and picked me up, and he brought me a present and all this stuff. And it was very, very sweet. Aww. Because I thought, oh my gosh, is he going to run? Because at the time we didn't know how serious it was. I had the surgery. We were waiting for all the results to come back. And then I'm thinking, is he just going to dump me? Because gosh, who's going to want to take care of me and whatever? And, he doesn't know me that well. So, I really get what you're saying. Everything turned out well for me. But in some people, that's not the happy ending for them. They do have issues.
And especially if you're younger, because when you're younger, they don't think that you should be dealing with this anyway, and they don't want to deal with it because they know that they can find somebody else that's easier to deal with versus, having to deal with what your life is going to entail.
Right.
So, so it becomes I say that every generation has their own little issues with regards to having an illness. The baby boomers are just finding out that they're getting divorced because one of them has an illness and they can't handle it. And it's actually one of the leading causes of divorce for the baby boomer generation. And so it's baffling to me that you can be with somebody for 20 plus years and then just because they had an illness, you can't handle it and so you walk away. It's just, I don't agree with it. I understand that it's hard, but that's what, when you get married, it says, should death do it part, and sickness and health, and what was the reason of getting married if you weren't going to follow those vows? Sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes it is very hard because what happens is that generally the one that walks away, and I feel that's kind of like what happened to my Siki. I was getting sicker and sicker, and I kept having pneumonia, things like that. And there was one time he wouldn't even come to the hospital. He was supposed to pick up the baby so that I could go into the hospital and have treatments, and he wouldn't even do that. He had no sympathy, no heart at all, no soul with regards to anything about me. And that's when I started realizing, what kind of relationship is this? If it was him, and if he was ill, I would have been right there for him with not.
And he would have expected you to be there.
Right. But for him, he didn't. I was a bother. I mean, I'm in an office meeting. I can't come to the hospital. I can't pick the baby up. And that night I remember, I actually told the lady the doctor at the hospital, I can't stay. I can't have these treatments. I got to pick the baby up at the daycare because I had dropped him off knowing that I was going to go to this meeting at the hospital to get x-rays done and things like that. And so she said, well, I will give you medication, and then you call your doctor first thing in the morning, and you need to go in for some more treatments. They can do it at the doctor's office there. You go in and do that. And so I got a prescription. I got all the information and went and picked up the baby and then came home. And he didn't even come home till like 9, 10 o'clock that night. And I was like,
oh, wow.
what are you doing? You know, you just had no care for me whatsoever. And so the reason I bring this up is because I do want people to understand that there are individuals that have that makeup that they just step away and they don't have the heart for it. And needing the help, needing the love. There are people out there that will love you, even if you have a disability or if you have something going on in your life.
Yeah, and I wrote a book about all of this. In the book, I even list those personality types of people that would be good with an illness, and the ones that would not. I mean, type A is usually not able to handle things they can't control. And it sounds like your ex was a type A personality, just in my opinion, but I don't know him.
Right. No, he was very controlling. And so if he couldn't control, then he would walk away from it. He didn't want any part unless he had control over it. And until, that was his thing. He wants to control everything. And so,
yeah.
It's
hard to live that way because you can't control everything. That's just, life is not made that way.
That's controlling all the time. It's really very hard to live with that person. But,
oh, yeah, definitely.
But let's move on and let's help the people that are there. They have a disability and they realize, okay, there's something up. Maybe it's not as serious, but maybe there is something going on in their lives where they do have something. So you have this wonderful book coming out, and I'm so thankful that you've written this book, and I cannot wait to get a copy of it myself. Tell us a little bit about, just briefly, we don't want to give it all away because we do want people to buy the book, but tell us a little bit about the personalities and things like that if you have a disability and you're starting out and you want a relationship, you still have your heart, your soul intact, you still have something to give somebody else. How can you go about having a relationship? What do you need to look for?
Well, the first thing that I would totally recommend, and I wrote in Dating While Disabled, you have to love yourself and your illness first. I know it's hard to say that, but if you don't love yourself and what your illness has given you and your struggles that you've overcome and even the positives that you've had with everything, because there's always a positive and a negative with everything, even with an illness. And you have to figure out a way to get yourself outside of the fact that your illness is not you. Because if you start saying that, well, I have EDS and that's all you're focusing on, or I have bipolar or depression, you're basically saying to yourself that you're only your illness. So whatever personality traits that you have, whether it's being loyal, kind, giving, you're basically saying that none of those matter. And you just want to say that your illness is your focal point. And that, I laid in my bed for 10 years having surgery after surgery. And I was probably the most depressed person I've ever met in my life. And I didn't have any friends anymore. I wasn't dating. And it was pretty much everybody was invited to the pity party, but nobody wanted to come. And I don't blame them. But nobody wants to be around somebody that's constantly negative or talking about negative things. So I have learned that there are some friends in my life that I can tell certain things to, and there are others that I can tell other things to. You have to balance both of them. But until you figure out first that you are not your illness, you are somebody beyond it, and this is just something that is a part of you, but not all of you, then you can figure out that it's time to start dating. But in my opinion, when you actually get to that point, do not, for whatever reason, even if you think that you should be telling this person, this new person that you just met, that you have an illness, do not tell them. One, because you don't know if they're going to make it past that first date, whether it's him not liking you or you not liking him. Or why would you want to put out there to anybody that you don't know about your illness or who you are with regards to that illness? They don't deserve to know that. They haven't gained your trust. I know a lot of people with an illness that actually stayed on the first date, and it's just way too much to go into. So I just recommend waiting at least until you start thinking that the relationship can go long term. And I don't mean once you've moved in, then tell them you have an illness. I just mean like at least 3 months to 6 months, because you don't know that person. And say that person, you tell that person everything, and then they decide they can't handle it. They're going to go out and they're going to tell whoever they can about who you are, and you just don't know who they know. So I just recommend never putting that all out there. It's just not necessary, in my opinion. I also recommend in my book to look for people that are definitely not type A. I'm not discounting every type A person out there, because there are some people that are type A that can handle an illness. But for the most part, from what I've seen, type A and type D are like the worst people that you can try to find that just could not handle the illness. I believe with type D, they're very negative, and you don't want to be around somebody that is completely negative when you have a lot of negative things in your life going on at that moment, because they'll just bring you down even more than you already are. So it's with dating and disabled, I wrote everything that I possibly could on every subject that I thought was necessary for people to learn about dating and an illness, because dating is rough. It's rough even if you don't have an illness, or it's rough when you do. It's never going to be easy, and nobody has a manual for it, but I'm hopeful that my book will at least give them some confidence and see my story, where for 10 years I didn't have a relationship at all with anybody, and then now I'm perfectly content, happy. You know, I'm dating. I'm having fun right now. I mean, I'm 33. I don't think of the clock of, oh my God, I have to get married. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm happy with myself, and I'm happy with my illness, because my illness made me who I am today. So it goes over a lot of different subjects that I thought that were important for other people to actually just grasp. And even if you don't have an illness, it's a good book to read, just so you can see what we have to go through. And so maybe you can have a little bit of sympathy or empathy with what we have to deal with.
Not allowing your illness to define you. Because, you know, when you start dating, and I agree with what you're saying, because I think when we start dating, you're just going out there and you need to just be you. Let your personality shine, let your happiness shine, let your intelligence shine. Some of these things, the makeup of you, come out, and your illness is not, even though it's part of you, it's not the essence of you. And so I really do agree with what you're saying, is go on a date and just enjoy the date. Enjoy the person that you're with. See, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that when they go out on a date, they have to sell themselves, they have to do this and that. But really all a date is just sharing an experience with somebody else. It's just sharing a joyous time, getting to know somebody else, making a friend. They lock too much into this date, and they're not looking at relationship building. And so if you have a disability, if you look at dating as a relationship building parameter, and you go out and you just let yourself shine, get to know the other person, and then it'll start developing of whether you can start building a relationship with this person. And then as you build the relationship, then more and more of you as an individual is going to come out, and your disability is also going to come out at that time. But it doesn't define you. It doesn't define on who you are. It may define on maybe some activities that you can do, certain things like that. But it's not going to be you as a person, you know, your personality, your soul, the core values that you have. Your disability doesn't define that.
That, and it's also, I know a lot of people have some big concerns. When you're disabled, you have a lot of medical bills. And when you're first dating somebody, even if they decide to pay for you or not, you want to be able to do things that you know that you physically can do. So that's a huge thing in my book as well, is cheap date ideas. I gave 100 of them just so that they know that they're not limited to just a movie and dinner. Because even a movie can hurt somebody if they have chronic pain or chronic fatigue. They're going to fall asleep or they're not going to be comfortable in the seat. There's a lot that goes into dating with an illness, and I don't think there's been any guide for anybody out there. I mean, there's been a few articles that have been written about dating with an illness, and most of the people that I've seen that has written these articles don't even have an illness. So it's hard to follow somebody that doesn't even have an illness, and you're trying to listen to their advice, but it's not all. There's just not enough information there because they don't understand it. So I just think that everybody that's disabled, they feel they're undateable because there aren't things out there that they can actually read or find out about dating with an illness, because there's nothing written about it. And so they're thinking that they're undateable for that reason too. If you go into any self-help aisle, you're not going to see any books on there about how to date with an illness or a mental illness or, a disability. There aren't any books out there for it. The only time you're actually going to see something is, say, a celebrity has an illness and they decided to write a book. But most of the time it's just about them and their struggles with the illness, not focused on dating. So
it's great, really,
yeah.
Christy, that you're bringing this forward, this information forward, because it's needed. It really, truly is needed, because you as an individual have to deal with your own stuff, uplifting.
Job.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of, just getting on with life. There's a lot of difficulties with life in general versus having someone that has disabilities, how to get on with life. And I know I'm in, more the last chapter of my life, and I'm coming up to individuals or being exposed more to individuals that do have problems, health issues. And I know that you said that your focus is a little bit on the younger, because you have developed the illness or the disability, and then you have to move through your life and try to live within parameters of some of those difficult times. So, I mean, I get that, but what I'm facing is that we go into relationships and they do have problems. They do have things. And many of my friends have said, hey, no, I'm backing off of this person because I don't want to be a caretaker. And I say, well, what happens if you become ill? I mean, what happens to you then?
Well, on top of that, there's a lot of people out there that want to date just to find somebody that will take care of them. And that's not going to work, and it's not fair to the person either. So that's a big thing also with loving yourself and your illness first, because you don't want to go start dating before you're ready, because then you're just going to be looking for somebody that can take you to doctor's appointments, pick up your medications, take you to the hospital when needed. And it's just, that's not, yes, they can be there for support, but that's not their only job to be caring for you. And I know it's hard to say that, and I know people are probably thinking, well, there are disabled people that do need a caretaker, but that's where your insurance comes in, if you have it, or even Medicare, or whatever you have, because that person that would be taking care of you will resent you later on, because they're going to be thinking you only want them for that reason, and that's it. So, being ill it's just balance. Everything in your life has to be balanced. And it has to be balanced in a certain way, just so you're not affecting the person that you're trying to date, or even affecting yourself, things that you're just trying to do. When I was diagnosed with my illness, I started dating afterwards, and I would do things that I knew I shouldn't have been doing, but I didn't want to disappoint the guy that I was dating. So I would just do whatever he wanted to do. And that ended up hurting me in the process, because I had just had a knee surgery, and I was jumping over tree stumps and branches to go to a place where he could fish. And I actually retore everything that my doctor had just fixed in surgery. So you have to know your limitations, and you have to know, and like I said before, it's just, there's so much that goes into dating with an illness, and you just have to know who you are and what your illness is and how it affects you in different ways. That way you don't push yourself too far, but you at least are still trying things just to see if you can do it. Because before, I guess it'd be like when I was 22, I would just tell people I can't do that because of my illness. I didn't even know if I could do it or not. I just chose to say I'm not going to do it. And that's not fun. And it was something that I actually could do. I ended up, like my friends that I still had at the time wanted me to go to the gym to see if that would help. And I just kept saying, no, I can't do it. And now I walk on a treadmill every day. So it's just whatever you put your mind to is what you can or cannot do. So
Wow.
all mind control.
So let's go back and recap. When at the beginning of the show you said that really you need to love yourself. You know, you need to love and understand your illness. Your illness doesn't necessarily define you, but you do need to be aware of what maybe some of your limitations are. However, you know, your mind open to new possibilities and being able to do and try different things. Then also to be aware of the personalities of the individuals that you're seeking to date. Are they really the right nurturing type of personalities for you? Do you want to be able to kind of focus on that a little bit and know, like what you were saying about the type A, type B. You know, I would think that you would need to have a relationship with somebody that is a little bit outside of themselves, and they do care and think of other people, and they do have a bit of a nurturing aspect to them.
Yeah, you have to have somebody that actually is somebody that is a nurturer. I mean, they don't have to be on top of you 24/7 and getting everything for you, but every guy that I have dated in the past were not nurturing whatsoever. I mean, I would have a surgery and they never showed up at the hospital. They never came and saw me afterwards, and they just went on with their life like nothing had happened. And then when I was finally well again, they would pop up. So those were huge red flags. But, you know, when you're in a relationship, it's very hard for you to acknowledge the red flags. Everybody else can tell you them, but unless you're going to actually listen to them, it really, which half the time you don't, you know, you have to experience it for yourself. And so it's just something you have to go through to see which type of person is good for you. Me, I prefer somebody that has a little bit of type A and type B. And, you know, type B are very, nurturing, and they're very caring. And those are the type of people that I like to surround myself around, because a lot of them are positive people. Positivity is a huge thing, because when you're negative and you're around somebody that's positive, you're actually bringing their energy level down so they can meet yours. And it's the same thing. If you're halfway good in positivity, but then you're around somebody that is extremely negative, then you're going to be brought down. So it's, again, a balancing act with the energies of people and how they affect you.
Let's turn the table a little bit. Let's say you are actually dating somebody and it's looking like it's going pretty well. How about sharing with them about your disability? Do you drop little things as you're dating, or do you just come in and say, listen, I need to sit down and talk to you about this. I have this, or what do you do?
In the beginning, I used to tell people during the first or third dates. Now, if say we've been together for 2-3 months, then I'm going to start telling them like certain things. Unfortunately, in my world, I have scars all over my body from all the surgeries. So if I wear a dress or shorts, they're going to see the scars on my knees and my legs. So I unfortunately have to tell them just a little bit, unless it's winter, and then I can get away with it. But most of the time I have to tell them just a little bit sooner, because they're going to ask. And plus I have scars on my neck as well. But when I do get to that point where I'm actually going to tell them, I basically tell them what I have, but how it affects me, because each illness that you're diagnosed with affects you differently than somebody else. So I tell them there's not a lot on CBS online, just because it's a very rare disorder. But I tell them that I look perfectly healthy and normal, but the reality is that I could push my joints out, and sometimes it becomes a problem because it'll pop out itself. And when it does, sometimes it can actually pop back in all on its own, and other times I have to actually force it back in, which is very painful. So I explain to them that there are just some things that I'm not going to be able to do physically that other people can, but I'm still willing to try to see if I can do them. And if I can't, then I'm happy to watch them do whatever it is that they want to do. and I'll cheer them on along the way. But you just have to explain how it affects you, but not like, say if you have like some type of symptom that only pops up every 3 or 4 months, like say you get like migraines, but they're very intermittent. Don't bring those up, because it's really when you talk about your illness for the first time, you really just want to tell them what actually affects you at that, for the most part, during the day, because I have chronic fatigue and chronic pain syndrome. So I just explain I'm in pain 24/7, but I'm still doing everything that I can to live my life the way that I want to live it. So it's all very circumstantial, obviously, with what your illness is and how you're going to go about it. If you have like depression or bipolar, I always recommend to tell them that, yes, you do have this, but if you're on medication and it is helping you, tell them that it's manageable and it's been manageable, but sometimes you have little flares depending on your stress level. I mean, the point is to not scare them, but to give them enough information to let them know that this does affect you, and it affects you in different ways. There are some people that are going to look at you, especially if you have an invisible illness like myself, they're going to look at you and say, you look completely healthy. I can't believe that you have these issues. And I've had men that thought that I was exaggerating, or I was even lying about my illness because I look normal. And so, unfortunately, those are the things that you have to navigate through, which is part of the world of dating, which is unfortunate, but it does happen.
One of the things you were saying is the same as just as being interested in something. Like, for instance, if you want to, I don't much like to go, kind of scared of heights, and so I don't like to go up on high things. I don't like to take roller coaster rides or anything like that. And so it's not going to make me a little bit dizzy. I don't know if it has anything to do with my health or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't make me feel good, and I don't like doing it. And so I don't do it. And so if we're going to go to some sort of theme park, or we're going to go and do something, I just say, listen, I really like that, and I'm not going to be doing that, but I'd be happy to hold your soda while you go and do it, and I'll watch you do it. So it's the same thing. If you have an illness and you can't really participate in anything particular, I mean, I feel like, why beat yourself up over it? Just like, this is the parameters of what I can do and I can't do. I'm not going to stop you from doing anything you want to do, and I would love to watch you do what you love to do. Mm-hmm. And so that connects you. So even if you don't, for instance, my son loves to go play basketball. I don't get out there and play basketball with him, but you know what? Anytime he asks me to go watch him, I would love to experience that. You may not be able to participate in everything. It doesn't necessarily mean you can't experience something.
I mean, I used to love sports. I played softball since I was probably 11. And I tried to do like a little traveling team that was just local. And I knew I couldn't do it after the first game. But my boyfriend at the time, he continued to play. And I just went there and gave him water when he needed it and congratulated him if he hit the ball. And, it was still fun for him. And it was fun for me because I just liked being around the excitement of it all, even though I can't actually partake in it. It was just fun for us to do that together.
Absolutely.
You just have to, as long as you're willing to still sit there and watch them and do something that they love, then they're going to be perfectly okay with the fact that you can't do it with them.
Well, here's the reality. It's all about your mindset, isn't it? If you feel that you have a disease or you have something that's holding you back, if you feel it's holding you back, therefore it's holding you back.
It will.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so if you have the mindset is, okay, I have this and maybe I can't participate in this particular sport or do this particular thing, it doesn't mean that I can't participate in you and in your life and what you enjoy doing. So it's the parameters of our mindset that holds us back. It's the fear of being able to move forward in our lives that holds us back. And the thing is if we truly want love, that's what we need to focus on when we're out there dating. We're focusing on, I want to be in love with a person. I want to love who they are. I want to love their personality. Maybe what their activities I can't necessarily love, but I'm going to love them for being able to do that. Maybe them doing more than what I could possibly do. And I'm going to enjoy and relish the fact that they can do that, not sit and say, I can't do that, so therefore I don't want to be within this. I'm not trying to be critical of people that have disabilities because I have been sick myself, but I think sometimes we get into that pity party and we close the doors on opportunities that we could embrace in a different way. And so this is what I think sharing today with people that do have some things that are challenges that in their life. I mean, do you have challenges that are heartbreaking? Sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have compassion for you. But can we maybe as a society help you and move forward and gain some of the joys in your life? I hope we can. I hope we can as a society help individuals do that. And Christy Goldstein, that's what you're doing with your book. And I am so pleased to be interviewing you today. Tell us about the book and when will it be out so that we can buy it?
Yep, Dating While Disabled will be out August 2nd. You can buy it on Amazon, or even you can go to I guess I'll have it at Barnes & Noble as well. But I just basically go over how to love yourself and your illness, cheap date ideas, because financial issues almost go hand in hand with a disability. I also go through my personal mistakes of just dating with an illness, as well as how to tell somebody and when to tell somebody that you have an illness. I'm hopeful that this book will help as many people as possible, because there's 1 in 5 Americans that have some type of illness. And since this is the first book of its kind, I just hope that I got it all down and didn't miss anything. So this book has been going on for about a year and a half now, because I keep re-editing it because I forget something and then I add something and then I remove something. And it's your first book and you're trying to help so many people, it's hard to let it go and know that it's ready. So, but I finally got to that point. So August 2nd is the day, and hopefully it will do well and help other people. And that's pretty much my dream, is to help as many people as I can.
That's great. Now, do you have a website too?
Yeah, you can reach me at christygoldsteinsloveadvice.com, and there will be a link to Dating While Disabled's website. It's currently being revamped, but you'll be able to find the link on my website as soon as it's able to come up. And you can also email me if anybody has any questions or wants to ask me for advice, and contact me on there, and I'll be happy to help email you back or call you back, whichever is easiest for the person and their advice that they need.
Now, you do one-on-one coaching, right?
Oh, yes.
I know they're having some challenges to be able to get through this. You know, what I think is so great about you is that even if you're starting to date and you do come up with some challenges, they could definitely, sure you have a program in place where they could give you a call and you could do some continuous chats with them to be able to help and encourage them to be able to move forward. Because you know what, dating is just like, it's like a start and stop type of thing. It's basically a dance. And so you do a little bit here and there, and then you got to do a little bit more. And it's not a smooth, easy path. And it just normally, it's a crazy. So it's nice to be able to talk to someone that's like-minded, that understands some of the situations. And so to be able to do some personal coaching or personal chats with someone, I think that would be a great offering that I hope the listeners out there will take you up on and contact you and definitely do that to help them move through. Because I tell you what, I know a lot of wonderful, wonderful individuals that have some disabilities, some a little bit more than others, but they are great human beings, absolutely great human beings, and they deserve love, they deserve to be loved, and they deserve to be able to give their love to someone. What a shame to be able to love someone, you know?
Oh, it's definitely a shame, because, I mean, we're here to give our love and our talents and experience and pass them on to others so they can navigate through their own world. So I'm hopeful after the book is out to do a few webinars to help more people and have like a question and answer. Just try to, I guess, elaborate on the book in certain areas if people need to have a little bit more information. Hopefully that will start happening in September as well.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I would definitely love to help you with something like that, because I think that would be much needed, and I think it would be a lot of fun. I think that if we embrace what's happening in our lives, whether it be our health, finances, or whatever, I think we can overcome any challenges. I really do feel that we can do that. And so I love what you're giving the audience. I love what you're all about, who you are as an individual, and it's just super to be able to be inspired by you today. So I thank you for that, Christy.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So we are listening to Christy Goldstein, and tell us a little bit more about your book, the name again, and where we can find it.
Sure. It's Dating While Disabled. It's actually available for pre-order right now on Amazon.
And then again, your website information, your contact information, if someone wants to contact you and maybe set up some personal coaching or some chats that they'd like to talk to you about.
Sure. My website is ChristyGoldsteinsLoveAdvice.com. And you can message me on the website, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I also wanted to say that my Dating While Disabled is the first book of 3. I'm trying to get every stage that's possible in the dating realm and relationship realm with dating and disabled or relationships with a disability.
Well, I thank you so much. Like I said, you're an inspiration, and you just want to inspire people, and I think that's just the most wonderful thing. It truly is. And you've taken your disability and you've understood it. You realize the parameters of it, but you're not going to let it define you. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And then being able to move forward and live a good life, be happy, it's what it's all about, being able to move through to the important issues in life. So I commend you for that. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It took a moment to get here, but I'm glad that I finally got here.
Yeah, sometimes it's a journey that makes a difference. And you've definitely had one, and now that you're looking back on it, you're going to help people with theirs. So I think that's a wonderful. So that is wonderful. I think your book is going to be great. We'll definitely put it on our site here on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You are listening to Going Solo with Cece. We are also going to put this on our Author's Corner, Meet the Author. So we'll put all the information up there for you. So you can go ahead and pre-order your book on Amazon, get a copy of it, and we'll put Christy's contact information so that you can contact her if you would like to have a little bit more of a one-on-one chat to be able to see what you can do for yourself to be able to move yourself through and not let your disabilities define you. So I think that is going to be a truly inspiring conversation you'll have with Christy. So this is Christy Goldstein, and we will, again, put all the information on. Connect with us on Facebook if you'd like, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network on Facebook. Also, Going Solo with Cece is on Facebook too, or a group on Facebook, so you can join us there. Well, Christy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was wonderful. And if we can do anything in the future, just let us know. We would love to be able to connect with you and keep on sharing your good information.
Oh, thank you. I'll keep you updated on all the great happenings of my world right now.
Sounds wonderful. Well, listen, this is Cece with Going Solo. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I hope you enjoyed the show today. You will have more wonderful shows just like this that will help you, inspire you, and help you move through your journey of life. And that's what it's all about. There is life after divorce, that's for sure. So we will see you next time. Bye for now.